Enofedu. So thank you for joining me today. So tell me, why did you decide that you wanted to come on this podcast and share your experience with the viewers?
Thank you for having me. I got wind of what you were doing, and as a man of a certain age, I think that men, they stop taking care of themselves when they get to a certain age for some reason, and it sort of catches up with you. And I think you need to take care of yourself the older that you are. I think also that, you know, mind and body, they kind of work in conjunction with each other, mind, body and spirit. And so I'm a massive advocate for that. And I think that that's my real reason.
Perfect, thank you. So I think one of the biggest things that I've noticed having my own aesthetics clinic is more men are more open now to talking about having non-invasive procedures, because quite often it would just be a very female-led environment where they think that if they've got anything that they feel like insecure about or they don't feel confident about, they shouldn't really be talking openly about that. And I think it's great that over the last 2-3 years there's been a real shift in that. The men are more open to discussing certain things, and they want to make certain improvements about the way they look, because at the end of the day, the way we look impacts our confidence, it impacts our day-to-day life, relationships, work, etc., etc. It all intertwines with one another.
Totally.
So how important do you think that it is, let's say, for that shift to have happened? And what would you say to men that are, like, let's say, looking at something to improve the way they look, which will ultimately improve the way they feel?
Well, I think that a lot of respect has to go out to David Beckham. I think that it was a slow process from, you know, David Beckham looking after himself and then sort of being in tangent with the metrosexual label, and he kind of made it cool, because men are always, you know, because David Beckham was cool, so you know, he played football, you couldn't get more manly than that. You know, he was a bit of a geezer, wasn't he? But no, he played football, but then he kind of looked after himself, so he kind of brought that into that arena, and then it kind of just grew and grew and grew. So yeah, I think it's incredibly important. I think that now it's spiked, and to do with mental health and stuff like that, men can have the conversation. You know, I always felt growing up there wasn't really an outlet, and I was in a boy band beforehand, so I was having makeup on my face and whatever for photo shoots and stuff like that. So we were the most metrosexual people in the 90s, that, you know, all the boy bands was wearing makeup and stuff like that for photo shoots and stuff like that. But there just wasn't really an outlet for men to, number one, in their mind, to talk about their feelings or talk about the way they felt and stuff like that, and also to talk about the way you looked. You just thought, you know, as long as you got the nice jacket on or whatever, you was considered, you know, in those days, oh, you're such a sissy, what are you talking about, what, you know, you're talking about clothes and stuff like that. And it was just about drinking, chatting up girls, and, you know, and what trainers you were wearing and stuff like that. But I think that looking good makes you feel good.
Yeah, of course.
And feeling good makes you act appropriately. Like someone always says, dress how you want to be presented. So, you know, sometimes, I'm sure women do it a lot, you know, if you're allowed to wear whatever you want to work, and then some days you want to close a deal, or you want to feel like a boss lady, you'll probably stick on a pair of high heels and trousers and kind of do
it. And it impacts your whole demeanour as well.
Exactly. So I think looks are incredibly important, because they make you feel good. You know, and then feeling good, you know, gets the whole sort of mindset kind of going. So
some people do think it's a vanity thing. I disagree with that entirely. Everything that we do in this industry is to improve the way someone looks and feels, whether that's a small tweakment here and there, or whether it's improving, let's say, if they've got bad skin, you know, and they've got problematic skin or scarring from when they've had like skin problems as, you know, a teenager. All these types of treatments help to improve that, and it's a confidence thing as well, which is really, really important. You obviously are, you know, you're not specifically in this type of industry. Do you think that there's any like misconceptions? Like, for example, like, have you learned anything new about the industry that, let's say, that the general public wouldn't necessarily know? Or is there anything, like, if you were talking, let's say, to a member of the public, what kind of would you tell them specifically about the medical aesthetics industry?
I'd say that it's incredible that uninvasive, and that's the thing that really sold it for me, because I was always too scared to have an operation, to go under general anaesthetic.
Or get a facelift or whatever, you know.
You know, stuff like that used to really, really scare me, through stigmas and stuff like that. And a lot of people do it, and a lot of people go in and out of surgery, and they're not bothered about it. I'm bothered about flying, I'm bothered about surgery, I'm bothered about this and that.
It's scary.
But this uninvasive thing where you just get like a local numbing and then you can get a treatment, and it pretty much there's not much that you can't do.
Yeah.
And that's what really kind of drew me into this sector. And I just think that the world would be much better with loads of confident people.
Yeah.
And I think looking good makes you feel good, and it kind of makes you confident. And it's just like presentation. You can put dinner on the table and it can look absolutely terrible, but it could taste amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
But look terrible.
Yeah.
But then if you present it in a nice way, then people think automatically before they're about to eat it, oh, this is going to be amazing. And then they taste it and it is amazing. So it's the same dinner, just presented in different ways. And I think, it's the same human being. It doesn't mean that you're a horrible or bad person if you're not presented correctly, And like, if I turn up in a pair of jeans to an office job and someone turns up in a suit, I might be more suited for the job, but I'm just turned up in the wrong attire, so my presentation is wrong. And I think that, we should all be presented as best as we can.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, that's my thing.
Okay, so as an aging boy bander, which you've kind of been called recent times, how important is the term like menopause? Because I think a lot of female listeners will fully understand about menopause. Yeah. Menopause is spoken about. However, men go through that change as well.
Yes.
So how important is it to really hone in on the whole menopause subject as a whole?
Well, the menopause is something that I was never really qualified to talk about it until you get to a certain age. And it's kind of was documented in little ways. Robbie Williams done a song called I Come Undone. And that song made more sense to me when I got to a certain age. And I think that, when you're a young kid and, and in a stereotype form, if you run in and you fall over, your dad will go, get up, come on, don't you hurt your knee, and you want to burst out crying, but when you get to a certain age, you kind of suck it up and you carry on, stiff upper lip, kind of British sort of thing as well. And I'm Nigerian, and we still did that. And but if my sister fell over and she started crying, that was absolutely fine. Did get her an ice cream or whatever, it's that kind of thing. So you do that in society, and it happens in loads of different ways. Don't worry about it, just carry on. You didn't make the school team, oh, you live to fight another day. You didn't do this, that kind of thing. And you're not allowed to kind of show your emotion. Men are very, very good at compartmentalizing it. So they kind of stick it in a box in their mind, and then they carry on with their life, and then they take another loss and they stick it in a box. Not allowed to discuss it, not allowed to go, and the only person who probably listens to it is your mum. Yeah. But your dad probably doesn't want to hear it, your mates definitely don't want to hear it. Do you know what I mean? And so you just carry on. And then, I don't know, it's like wrapping an elastic band around you. And then as you get older, it begins to get looser and looser and looser. And then it starts to unwind. And then, most men hit their 40s or mid-40s. And then they just, all of a sudden, they just don't know where they are.
They call it like a midlife crisis.
It is like a midlife crisis. And men get it a lot. Yeah. And it used to be covered up. Yeah. And now with the great progression in mental health and stuff, there's starting to be a lot more mediums, a lot more platforms, a lot more men groups, focus groups. Because, still men don't want to talk about it in front of women. Men, there's still that stigma where they feel silly or they don't, and they need a group of men who are ready to open up. And some men still are there and they don't really want to open up. So, it's that kind of thing that the menopause is a really real thing. And you sort of come undone, and it's all about expectation. When you were young, you thought you were going to be the most famous person in the world. You thought you was going to be a footballer. You thought you was going to be a multi-millionaire. You thought this, you thought that. And, you built up all these expectations, and then with all the losses, and then you just go, where am I? And what am I doing? And was life worth it? And if you don't get help at that point, then you can seriously go on a major decline.
Totally, and like you touched upon it just before about how there's so many treatments available that are non-invasive. Because between us, men have quite a low pain threshold when it comes to certain treatments compared to women. I have found that over the years.
Really?
Well, we might have to test this out. We might have to test it out.
No. I don't want to trouble.
But they genuinely do. There's different treatments we do, like body treatments in clinic, for example, where men find it a lot more painful than women. For example, we've got a device called the Emsculpt Neo that we use in clinic. Women can tolerate 100% on that, no problem. Most men, on average, get to about 50 or 60% and say, don't turn it up anymore. Yeah. So I think it's a benefit that we do have treatments that don't hurt, because pain is a big factor when it comes, because pain scares people. They think, oh my God, if someone's going to stick a needle in my face, it's going to be extremely painful, and they don't want to do that. And it can be quite off-putting. But I think one of the good things to educate men on is the fact that there are so many options available that don't cause any pain, don't cause any discomfort, and will deliver a natural result as well. Like, we're not talking about making you look like, you know, a Ken doll. It's not about that. It's about making you kind of like rejuvenate your skin when you get to rejuvenate your skin and body when you get to a certain age. That's what it comes down to.
Totally. I definitely agree with women. I mean, you know, I think that God made women to bear children, and I don't think it gets more painful than childbirth.
Well, you'd never know.
Yeah,
like, you would never know.
But I wouldn't. From what I've heard, it's you know, it's a pretty painful experience. That's what I've heard. So, you know, women are built in that way too. So their pain threshold is high, which a lot of men don't really think about. What was the question now?
About how there's pain-free treatments available.
Yeah, the pain-free treatments. But what I do think, though, is that each man has something that he wants to do. So, you know, some men it's their hair, some men it's their skin, some men it's their nose, some men it's their eye, you know. And I think that a man has to choose what it is. It could be something that's been bothering him all his life. You know, I've got friends who had their teeth fixed and they're just completely different people. I've got friends who've had hair transplants and they're completely different people. I've had friends who've gone under the knife and had their nose done, and you know, so I think it depends. I do think that it's a bit addictive, though. It's a bit like
it can get too much.
Yeah, once you pop, you can't
stop. Well, exactly, but that's why you have to go to a trusted practitioner so that they know when to tell you to stop, so that they have the professional capacity to say no if they need to say no. You don't just want to go to a backstreet barbers and start getting things injected into you left, right and centre, because I mean, you don't know what you're getting injected into you.
Totally.
So you need to be going to a trusted medical professional in order to get the best possible treatment.
You, so you need to kind of get the trust. But I just think the uninvasive thing, like I say, medical science is absolutely amazing, and the things that they can do, they can give you jaw lines, they can do, you know, they can give you hair. I mean, just so many things. I think hair is a massive problem for men. I think that, you know, it's a very, very underrated, you know, that, you know, some men in their early 20s start losing their hair, and I was lucky it didn't happen to me, but I saw the dip in confidence in some of my friends, and it didn't stop them. You know, they still had girlfriends, they still got married and whatever. But, you know, there was for so many years when I was around, there was no treatments for it. You know, you could either you used to have to wear a wig or a toupee or something like that, which always kind of gave it away. You know, and people would kind of talk about it, and then you'd have to shave your head. And
even Ronnie off Love Island got quite a bit of stick, didn't he? Because he is wearing like I don't know if it was a hairpiece or whatever. He did come out and say what it was.
He sprays hair fibres into his hair,
and he got stick for that. But it was like, why is he getting stick for that? Like, that's clearly something that he is self-conscious about, and he's doing something to improve that. So, you know, the stick that he got wasn't really, you know, justified.
The greatest thing about Ronnie is that he never hid it. So everyone in the house knew he was using it. He would shower in the morning and then he would go and spray his hair fibres in, and he was very open about it because he's, you know, I suppose he's a footballer, he's an extremely confident person, and he couldn't understand why they didn't show it on the telly, because he never hid it, he never was pretending that he didn't have, but Love Island didn't think it was appropriate. Maybe they thought it was, you know, it was encroaching on his privacy. Maybe they thought he didn't want to know. So if he had been open about it and it had been shown on camera, then less people would have been having a problem with it. I once had a mate many years ago, and well, he's still around now, I've not seen him for years, and he was a really big, fat guy, but he was so confident. It never stopped him at all with women. You know, never stopped him at all. He had girlfriend after girlfriend. He was comfortable with it.
He was cleaning up.
He was doing well. I don't know how he was doing it. You know, and so I think that, you know, it's a confidence thing, really. I think no matter what you look like, if you're confident, it covers a multitude.
And that's what it comes down to, exactly.
Totally. So this uninvasive aesthetic stuff is just to bring out more confidence. Bring out the best side in you, but bring out just more confidence. And everyone's got little imperfections that they kind of, that they think is an imperfection, or something that maybe some little kids teased them about when they were young, and they think it's like that. And if it's going to make them feel better, be able to go into a meeting, like, you know, the teeth thing's a big thing. Some people don't like smiling because they don't like their teeth, and it's a shame, you know.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So it's great. It's great for confidence, and it's great for your mental health as well. Just gets you feeling so much better. When you feel good about yourself, you think better thoughts. You're much more positive. You can add much more to your life.